What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to check out Among Trees, a new survival game that's currently available on Epic. So anyways, I've had this one in my inventory now for, I got this on itch.io actually probably about a year ago. Around about a year ago. But when you booted it up, it would be like, hey, you're not allowed to show this to anybody. And so because I'm not an asshole, I didn't break embargo, you know what I mean? Like, they asked me not to show it to anybody, so I didn't show it to anybody for like a year. But now, I actually have the final release version, and it comes with no strings attached. So, unencumbered by flapping strings, let's go ahead and check the game out. I've never played this before. It's my first impressions. You guys will know that, like, I'm a big fan of The Long Dark. I think it's probably the best game ever made. I will stand by that. I will fight on that hill. Let's go ahead and we'll go with normal for right now, and if we find that it's too easy, we'll go ahead and redo it on hard. I am an interloper player on The Long Dark. I exclusively play. I can't remember the last time I didn't play on interloper on The Long Dark. To me, that's just the quintessential way to play the game, and it's probably similar here. Like, you should probably play it on the hardest difficulty to really get that feeling, but I want to feel it out first. We're doing a first impressions video, and I figure most of the people that are going to come through are going to want to have, like, representative gameplay of what they're going to see and what they're going to struggle with the first time they hit the game. So let's ride. Here we are, opening our eyes for the first time in what looks like actually a fairly pretty world. It looks pretty. Okay. So we've started out next to a gaggle, a parcel, if you will, of red bushes. There's a fir plank right there. I'll go ahead and pick that up. There's a stick on that side. Guess I'll probably take that too. Might as well. Am I going to have, like, weight allotments or anything else that I'm going to have to worry about? These beautiful planks smell of the fir they were cut from. Durable, flexible, and rot-resistant. We can repair and expand the cabin. Okay, there's a button mushroom over here. I probably actually wouldn't... Oh, a ruby beet. Very nice. I probably wouldn't even loot the mushrooms. There's no point, man. Unless you're like a... So, unless you're somebody like a mycologist who knows a lot about mushrooms, you're more likely to kill yourself with a mushroom than you are to feed yourself. There's a lot of poisonous mushrooms out there in the world, to the point that even really experienced survivalists will usually avoid mushrooms, even if they're like 100% sure they know what they're looking at. They'll usually leave it alone just in case, because, like, that's just the way it goes with mushrooms in a survival situation. Like, most mushrooms are horribly neurotoxic, and so it's just like, well, maybe I won't eat that. Some of them are so toxic that even if you get the oils on your fingers and then you eat something later on that day after having not washed your hands, you can die. Like, they are quite bad for you. Alright, well, we've got that all set up right there. Let's take a look. It looks like maybe we've got... Yeah, that's our stamina meter. Alright, what do we have to do right here? So we've got a really, really busted cabin, and we're going to need 4 more sticks if we want to get this place up and running. So, in the interest of having a place to rest my head once it starts to get dark and nasty out, I think I'm going to endeavor to accomplish that task today. What are those, like, blackberry bushes right there? That's what they kind of look like to me. I don't know. They got kind of like a blackberry bushish look to them. Oof, some pretty big frame chugs going on in. Then again, the game did just now release into early access. Sometimes you just gotta fiddle with the settings a little bit. Make sure you got everything locked in where you want it to go. I fiddled lightly. I got rid of the vignette because I don't like the vignette, and I got rid of the motion blur because I can't stand motion blur. I to this day don't understand why anybody includes motion blur in any video game. I've never met anybody that turns it on. Like, everyone I know, the first thing they do the second they get a new PC game is they go and they disable motion blur. I assume that motion blur exists to kind of hide the fact that you're getting frame chugs or whatever on lower level systems, possibly. Like, I don't know, because, like, when I move my head the way you do in a video game like this, I don't get that same blur effect, like, at all. And so I'm not really sure where the idea came from that everything smears like watercolor on glass when you move your head, but video games really seem to be doubling down into that lately. And, like, every single game is just like, yeah, we got motion blur in there. I'm like, why, though? You don't have to. You could just, like, not have that. Everybody turns it off anyways. What is that, moss? Stump moss. Sounds attractive. Really, really excited about eating that when I get hungry enough. You want some stump moss? No, I don't think that, I don't think I want no stump moss up on ya. No, I'm solid on stump moss. How many sticks have I picked up? Are we, like, almost at 10 sticks? Alright, we're at one more stick, and we'll be ready to rock. Had to go pretty far to get it, But I found a stick, so we should be ready to roll at this point. I know my last sentence, like, we got the sticks, so we're ready to rock. It gets confusing. You're like, well, I thought we just needed sticks and planks for the building, not rocks. And I'll be like, well, you know, it was a figure of speech. But hang with me. Let's get this cabin all nice and reset up, shall we? Yeah, go ahead and build it. All right, so our cabin has been concluded. We can sleep here. We can save our progress. We have storage that we can put inside of here. Our cabin does not look that nice, but it looks like we can build extra stuff too. So we got a crafting room and some other things. I'm gonna save my progress real fast just in case, because you never know what's gonna happen. There's our storage box. I'm gonna throw my shrooms and everything in there, and we'll worry about what we're gonna pick up later on. I say we just wander for a little bit, and as we wander, yeah, I say we just wander. Not all who wander are lost. Some who wander are actively looking for crafting materials so that they can make their cabin more awesome and thus increase its property value on Trulia. Let's see here. Yeah, this episode brought to you by Trulia. Buy your house on Trulia. Trulia, we're definitely not invading your privacy by taking pictures of your house. Let's see here. You ever think that's weird? Like, Trulia as a website exists, and they're just, like, allowed to, like, have pictures of your house? I don't know. It weirds me out how many things exist on the internet that I really kind of feel like are an invasion of my privacy. But at the same time, like, nobody else seems to care or, like, wonder. Like, right now on that website, I can type in anybody's address, and it'll give me, like, a picture of their front door. I can look at their license plate. Like, it's just like, It seems weird to me that sites like that exist. That's all that I'm saying. And, like, nobody's complained about this, huh? I assume I'm going to need some kind of snare or rabbit trap or something in order to catch all these conies down here. Get ourselves a nasty batch of conejo down here if we could. Let's go... I'm just going to go in this direction. I like how scenic it is. It's a pretty game. Like, it's done a pretty good job of making itself stand out visually, which is a way that I find a lot of games really sort of fail in the survival genre. They all go for, like, that kind of photorealistic, ugly Rust look. And even Rust gave up on that look and tried to stylize after a little while. And so, like, they all go for that basic, like, Unity asset look instead of, like, doing something clean like this right here that makes it stand apart. And I always feel like that's where they get into trouble, because you can't tell any of those games apart after a while. Hello? Apparently I need a hatchet or something in order to get into that crate. I tried clicking and I tried interacting with it, and it didn't seem to, like, enjoy it. Oh, there's a bunch of boxes over here. Okay. Well, let's have at it. I don't think anybody around here is going to need this stuff, so I'm going to take it from me. A lockpick is required for that right there. Good to know, good to know. Another bouton mushroom. Are the bouton mushrooms, like, these sturdy little fungi will satisfy your hunger. You can eat them raw, but they're more nutritious when you cook them. Alright, button mushroom. It's a good thing our character knows a lot about mushrooms. Yeah, I'll take all that stuff. That all sounds good. Every single bit of manufactured goodie over here, I am more than willing to take off your hands, because I want to make the crafting bench by the end of this episode. For sure. I want the crafting bench to be done. If we don't get the crafting bench done, I'm going to be bummed out. I mean, lots of refuse and lots of things laying around to make use of. I mean, so really what you need in this situation is mostly just, like, fasteners. And we seem to be finding a lot of that stuff. I mean, our character obviously is kind of a Renaissance woman, because she just built a cabin from scratch out of the wreckage of an old cabin using a couple of planks she found on the ground and a number of, like, redwood sticks. So she's more talented than I am to begin with. But in a survival situation, ropes, wire, fasteners, all things that you're looking for, because you're not going to be able to build a decent shelter until you have them. What you would start out with is usually a lean-to or an A-frame of some kind. I can build a pretty rad little A-frame if I've got access to, like, twine. Probably wouldn't survive a storm with high wind velocities, but it will cover you up, and it will keep you warm. Especially if you put a fire in at the end of it. Let's see here. We got another plank over on this side. Okay, another rope. Definitely always take more rope. Like, rope is one of those things that it's just like, whew, gotta have it to survive. You can use rope for snares. You can use rope for your shelter. You can use rope to suspend food from trees so bears can't get after it. Like, there's a whole bunch of good things that you can pull off with rope. Very, very helpful functions that all derive almost directly from do you have access to like a rope or lanyard or a lanyard maker. I don't see anything else around here. Points of interest seem to be somewhat limited along the horizon. I'm assuming that with these black berries right here, didn't seem like we got much of a bonus from the beet. I assume that we really got to cook those. A beet is like hardcore roughage if it hasn't been cooked yet, so I respect it. Let's go back to our base and we'll kind of take like a head count and figure out what we do and don't have. It looks like sundown's here anyways. So there's probably a pretty good chance that we're going to want to crash out and sleep anyways. I mean, part of me sort of wants to stay out a little bit once it gets dark and catalog the sorts of threats that are going to exist around here, like the things that are going to be coming after me. It looks like we don't have access to a map. We do have outfits and clothing, apparently, which sort of denotes that at some point there's going to be like weather features possibly. It's going to rely on us having access to certain clothing. What do we have here? Wire, we need stump moss, fir planks. Okay. Sounds good. Throw it all in there. Yep, every last bit of these goodies. One little quality of life thing I would recommend they add to the game is that anything that you have in storage should be allowed for crafting when you're inside of your base. Having to go back to crates and pick out the exact amount of crafting items every single time you want to build something is one of those small annoyances that kind of builds up over time when you're playing a game like this. My recommendation is always that the second that it's in storage, it should be added onto your personal inventory, and you should be able to just craft straight from your crafting benches without having to have it on your person. I'm not asking that we go to a crafting bench across the map and have it draw from our storage crates, but inside your own base, that always feels like a really good idea to me. We're a little bit hungry, and we're a little bit tired. Luckily, there was enough mushrooms around. What I'm looking for right now is I would keep your eyes on the horizon in a survival situation like this. We are tree blind for the most part, which is a downer. I would pray that in a situation like this you would not be tree blind, but unfortunately we are. You don't know what I mean by tree blind. What I mean by that is that trees are blocking off our view line. This is a very, very dangerous situation to be in as far as survival goes because panic is very, very likely. What tends to happen is people will stray off a trail to try to get a view of a vista, take a picture, come up with that Instagram photo or whatever. They'll get too far off the trail. They won't be able to find their way back. Darkness will fall. They'll find themselves in a situation like this where they can't see off in the distance. And what will happen there is they'll start to panic. And ultimately in a survival situation, it's usually not food, water. It's usually not wildlife or anything like that that kills you. It's panic that kills you. Panicking is incredibly draining on the human body, and you're not thinking clearly, and you tend to run through your resources very, very, very rapidly once that sets in. Your average panic attack or your average panic situation will usually last about an hour and a half, 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And in that time, you can very, very rapidly sort of sabotage your well-being by doing very, very foolish things in the pursuit of short-term safety. And you really want to be careful once you realize you're in a bad situation. You always want to be very, very careful. And you always want to be calm, and you always want to be measured, and you want to take account of what you have, take an ample inventory, as it were, and be like, okay, well, as far as food goes, I've got this, this, and this. Water goes, I've got this. I don't have any lanyard, but I can take the string off of the hood of my jacket, and I can use that for a fastener. I've got, an extra length of boot string in my backpack, so on and so forth. You sort of want to just get a rough idea of what you have on you so that you can apply it, because making things last is it's very, very rare inside the contiguous United States, which is where I live, that if you get lost in the woods, nobody's going to find you. They are 100% going to send out search teams. They are 100% going to send out helicopters looking for you. And so realistically, in a situation like this, your best bet is to find as much wet wood as possible, stack it up, find dry wood, start a fire, make a shelter, throw the wet wood on it, make the biggest smoke signal you possibly can, and somebody will see it from a fire watch. Somebody will see it from a helicopter, and you're gonna get rescued. But people freak out, people panic, people act irrationally. It's natural. It happens to everybody. It's a scary situation. We'll throw that in there. We'll grab. I gotta see which of this food is edible, man. I gotta figure out which of this food is edible. All right, so we've got a button mushroom. I don't appear to have any sort of like, cooking available. We need driftwood in order. Did I pick up any driftwood? I don't think driftwood is an item that I had cataloged yet. Yeah. Okay, the cooking station actually might be the most important thing to do first. We're pretty tired, so I'm going to go ahead and throw myself into bed real fast, and we'll just rest it on out. Perfecto. Okay, let's throw down on a save real fast. And we kind of want to pay attention to cardinal directions. So, the sun's over there. It rises in the east, so we know that that's eastward. What I would do is I would find some way to designate that tree that's perfectly where the sun rises, and that tree is east. And then when west comes along, I'd find west. I'd mark a tree in that direction too. That's what I personally do, so that from my house, I have vision. In addition, anytime you go out like this and leave your place of central support, you want to leave signals. You want to tie some kind of twine or some kind of brightly colored fabric around tree limbs within eyeshot of each other so you can always find your way back home. Always, because you've already gotten lost once. Losing your source of supply and comfort in a situation like this and getting lost twice in the same sitting is just one of those things you really don't want to do. If you don't have access to any brightly colored fabric, if you have access to a cutting tool, something like a knife or something like a machete, you can blaze a tree. Blazing a tree is effectively you slashing all the bark off the side of a tree in the direction leads back to your home. So in this case, we would want to get it on this side, and we would want to get it on this side. The reason being, actually, honestly, I'd probably do it all the way in a circle around it, and then on the side that leads back to the house, I'd probably have like a line that goes upwards, like as my own personal little signal. Everybody does it differently, but really when it comes to blazing a tree or branding a tree, you really, really, really want it to be visible from everywhere. So in the case that you do get disoriented or you do get yourself into trouble, you can find your way back to. Is that a stump right there? I was really hoping that was a stump, but hey, I'll take a button mushroom. Button mushroom sounds like dinner to me. We'll get another stick. We'll get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Chances are we probably find driftwood along the river over there. This is actually not a bad situation to be in. We have a cabin and we have a river. If we have a pot, that means we can boil water. That means we can survive for at least a month out here. In addition, we can boil these beets. There's not a whole lot of calories in a beet. But if you're in the right season of like spring or whatever in an evergreen location like this, it's probably not altogether unlikely that you're going to be able to find blackberries too. Blackberries, miner's lettuce, a couple other things around that you can find. You can get by on pine tea as well. A lot of people don't know that. Boy, the music changed. The music definitely changed. That's not good. I see a stump though, and I need stump moss, so I'm gonna get after it because I'm not gonna let a good thing go. Oh, never mind. That stump is not a helpful stump. So there was a dangerous animal around. I don't see it though. Oh, I hear him. There he is. There. Oh, that's a Kodiak right there. That is a larger bear than I was expecting. I'm in a redwood forest, so I figured like black bear, maybe brown bear if you're really, really unlucky. That's a Kodiak right there. That's a big bear. That's a bear that's like one of the larger bears on the planet. That's a bear that's not messing around. They are highly aggressive as well. Woof. They will eat you dead, my friend. They will eat you dead. Okay, so we want to make distance from him. In addition, what I would start doing now that I know those bears around is every time you need to take a piss, you need to start designating a circle around your cabin, and you need to start pissing in a circle around the cabin. I didn't know there was going to be bears around, or I would have brought it up. I would have brought it up earlier. But the smell of your urine will keep the bears away. They'll see it as like, so it's not going to work for a day or two, but you basically want to mark the entire area by peeing where you live every single time, by holding it when you're out in the field and coming back home and peeing where you live, because the smell of that built-up urine, the bear can smell that, and he's going to think that there's more than one of you there, and he's going to stay away from it. Hey, there's a driftwood right there. It's one of those smaller survival tips that actually I don't think I've ever had to give out during a video. And it's not a guaranteed win. Like, if you piss all around the place where you live, it's not a guarantee the bears still won't come around. Desperation is a thing. Hunger is a thing. And bears definitely know where they stack up in the world of threats in the forest. They definitely know that they're the king, and so they're going to go where they will. And you're just going to have to... Oh, hey, there we go. We have some hoof fungus right there. They're going to go where they will. But it is a deterrent that may keep the smaller ones away and whatnot. And frankly, it can't hurt, so you might as well. Driftwood, very nice. I'd like to start being able to cook my food in order to make it go a little bit further. If we could find a rifle, that would also be something that you'd like to have in a situation like this. A knife, a multi-tool, a rifle. Those three things right there give you your best shot at getting through a long winter in a bad environment. I mean, the odds are stacked against you. You're probably not going to make it. Even if you're an experienced survivalist, you're probably not going to make it an entire season out there. Like, the best you can hope to do is stretch it out by a few weeks. Survival's a lot harder than all those TV shows like to make it out to be, like Naked Survival and Dual Survival, you know, Bear Grylls and all those guys. Like, all those shows are very much focused on entertainment. So they're going to do non-practical, kind of ridiculous things in order to keep your eye on the TV. You usually don't want to take advice from shows like that. If you were going to take advice from any show on TV, I'd say anything with Les Stroud. He's also put out a very, very solid string of books that I recommend for reading if you wanted to learn about survivalism, how to make figure 4 deadfalls and snares and things of that nature. Learn how to build a hut and whatnot out in the middle of the woods, or learn how to build a structure or a shelter. I needed driftwood, so I should probably stay down by the water. I'm kind of isolating myself from the resource that I was looking for. Might have another bear over here. The music changed on us again. Never cross a river like this, by the way. You're going to get your boots wet. Always take your boots off before you go to a river crossing. Don't ever, ever, ever walk across a creek in your boots like that. Wet feet will kill you dead. A lot of your heat is vented out through your feet, and them being wet and also having wet shoes, not good. Really, really bad. You don't want to have wet shoes. It's also a recipe for trench foot if you don't get them dried out fast enough. We're starving again. If only I wasn't so hangry. Do we have enough? I need one more driftwood, man. I really don't want to go back to base until we have the driftwood. I'm going to grab this right here. There we go. Perfect. We got the driftwood. We're going to need to find a few more planks, I think. But let's go back to base and let's make that cook fire. I'm kind of vetoing the idea of the crafting bench. And instead, we're going to make the cook fire. On the topic of survival books, Cody Lundin does a pretty good job, too. Like, I know Cody Lundin was on that Dual Survival show, which is kind of one of those hammed-up survival shows where they do a lot of implausible stuff. But despite that, actually, I have read Cody Lundin's book. And he knows what he's doing. He's actually really, really good at that stuff. He was just kind of on a show that didn't really telegraph that very well. We're going to need some more bolts. We are lacking in bolts, unfortunately. So we're not going to be able to get the campfire done, which is a big, big bummer. Wish that we could. Really, sincerely do. Let's offload some of this food. The button mushrooms, we're going to have to... Those are dotty mushrooms, chance of poison. Yeah, let's eat these guys real fast. There we go. Fill on up. The dotty mushrooms, we may be able to do something with. No guarantees, though. Throw the sticks in there. We're looking pretty good. All right, so realistically, we need to find some other place with civilization. We know that there was a tower back this way. In my opinion, that's a good place to start. To me, it looked like a power relay. Power relays in the continental United States run pretty much the span of the country. And so power lines are not going to guarantee that you're going to find your way towards anything good. However, if you find that the power lines have the trees cleared from around them and the grass is cut low, that's a much better sign. That right there means that it's maintained. A maintained area means that somebody comes out every now and again and takes care of that, which means there has to be something nearby. And so you're going to want to start keeping your eye out for, trails and things. These rubbish piles. I'd actually probably haul all this back as firewood too, just me personally. I'd be really, really concerned about establishing like a very, very clear supply of firewood so that I could keep a bonfire burning outside the cabin 24 hours a day. If you have to give the appearance of a forest fire, you got to do what you got to do. Whatever gets you rescued, gets you rescued. I'm not saying to light the forest on fire, but hey, if you can make a big-ass fire that's got big-ass plumes of white smoke coming out of it, go for it, man. That's all good. It tends to be pine boughs that do the best for that, by the way, if you're trying to create white smoke. Pine boughs tend to hold their moisture over the long term. I'm kind of just keeping myself due west right now. I find that striking out in cardinal directions when you don't have a map tends to be the best way to get yourself acclimated with the terrain. So we're keeping ourselves roughly westward at the moment. Although the sun doesn't appear to swap sides very often. So I'm sort of curious about whether or not the sun is actually representative or indicative of direction in this game. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Moss doesn't always grow on the north side of trees. That would be another thing. There's always those people that are like, oh, well, if you know what side of the tree the moss is on, you can tell where north is. Not really. Only in certain hemispheres and only in certain areas. It's kind of a... It's only a trick that works in very, very specific places. It's not a universal rule. Not even for North America, in all honesty. It's not even a universal rule for just our little chunk of continental space. Ooh, is that moss right there? Ayo, we got ourselves some stump moss. Very, very nice. I wonder if the map... Oh, yeah, we've hit the map's edge over here. So it looks like we're actually inside of like a giant bowl. Yeah, okay. Well, that makes things easier. I mean, that means we can make our way to the edge of the bowl at the beginning of every single day. And then just kind of like follow the... You can just circumnavigate this whole thing, assuming that that's a universal truth, that this entire thing just takes place inside of a soup bowl. Okay. I guess we're just about out of time for today, so as I make my way back to the cabin, let me know if you want to see more of this. You can absolutely put a like down below, leave a comment if you wanted to see me play a little bit more, talk more about survival stuff. It is something that I enjoy here on the internet. I haven't done anything with survivalism in a long, long time. I studied it pretty extensively when I was a geologist because you spend a lot of time out in the middle of nowhere, like 4 hours from the nearest town/village, and you really only have yourself to rely on if anything goes wrong. But it hasn't really been relevant information for me since I became a YouTuber, but it is still fun to talk about, and maybe the information will help somebody else out. If you wanted to get this game, I got a link for you down below. This game is available on Epic right now. It does support the channel if you use that link, so full disclosure. I think it's something like I get like 15 or 20% of the purchase price if you buy it down there. And so anyways, disclosure. It's a good thing to do. I'll see y'all tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet. Thank you for being here. How you doing? Take care, everybody. Goodbye.